gentlemen, hey, congratulations for your documentary, Downwind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then more importantly, it's being showcased at this year's Slamdance Film Festival. How do you gentlemen, how does it feel that it's being one of the featured documentaries there?
We're thrilled to be the spotlight screening at Slamdance. This is an incredible festival. It is a filmmakers festival for filmmakers, which Doug and I are both filmmakers, and we love to be around sort of that vibe. Other filmmakers around sharing really, really great stories in that environment, that Park City environment. In late January, there's no better place on earth to be if you want to see incredible films, actors, directors, and Slamdance itself in particular is a great festival. We're thrilled to be. This is our world premiere, and we're really thrilled to have it there.
Wow. Well, for you, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. The fact that it's a spotlight is really, really nice to be sort of associated with. That's I won't say it's a dream come true, but it was definitely on the list, and we made it, and we're like kind of walking away thinking, wow, that's really cool, because we really want to spread the word. We really want to get this out there. So that's awesome.
That is pretty awesome. So I guess the question that we all have to ask is what sparked you guys to do this documentary Downwind in the first place?
Doug, do you want to take this first one?
Sure. So we started out honestly with the history on The Conqueror, the movie. Honestly, that's where we initially wanted to go down, and it was because our family, there's cancer. If you see at the end of the film, we dedicate this to our moms. And my family in particular, she's 2-time breast cancer survivor. My dad passed away of lymphoma B. My grandmother, lymphoma. My aunt was pancreatic. My second son, had a close call with melanoma. Thank God he's okay. So cancer was pretty much top of mind already. And as we started to take on this idea of, showing what happened on The Conqueror, we started to follow the rabbit hole, and things started to connect, whereas other things didn't connect of what we were told. And then I like to say we use this lens metaphor where we literally started zooming out from where we started. You're leaving, St. George, Utah, and you're getting out to the United States, and we found this map called the Miller map, and it's a detailed data overview of where the winds were going at the time of these different venting situations at the test site. And there was one in particular that unfortunately ended up going over the entire United States, and just leaving out California, ironically. And that began the chase where we're like, this can't be true. And we just kept going. And it became real, so to speak, both on set with the cameras, because we were filming during COVID with the skeleton crew. And then in the edit bay, it just became more real every time. And you just ask yourself, why? And you got to find out, and how can we fix this? And so it turned our attention from something that was more casual to something very serious.
Now, I understand both of you are in two different locations, right now. But how did you both, partner up going on to this project?
Well, Doug and I have known each other since the beginning of this new millennium, and even before that. And we had worked together in filmmaking. I was a producer. Doug was a filmmaker and director of photography, even back then. And we did a lot of mini docs with companies like Starbucks and for a larger organization, Monster.com. So we got connected that way through filmmaking. And it was the highlight for us and for me was being in the field and shooting people and interviewing people and talking to people and telling stories. We always talk, hey, one day let's do this. Let's make a documentary. And we had so many different ideas, and we've done, like I said, a lot of mini docs. We wanted to do one, to Doug's point, where it was more personal, because we were impacted. And then personal as Americans, we felt like this was a story when we came across it that we don't think has been told. And it's a significant story. It's about people, and it's about a government, and it's about the way the government set off 928 atomic detonations, when that came up to Doug and I, we started writing a list of people that we would love to interview, to talk to research, hundreds of people, and the story kind of unfolded from there. And every time we, as Doug said, we started with just this John Wayne film, The Conqueror, that was impacted by that one explosion, called Dirty Harry, that was a detonation at the test site. You've seen the film, right? Or I
have seen the film, yes.
Okay, so Dirty Harry was that detonation that went over St. George. As Doug said, the wind took it in the direction over St. George, but we started to think about, well, wait a minute, that's a Hollywood production. That's John Wayne. What about if it had gone in the direction it was supposed to go in? There's still people there. There's Native Americans. There's this land that the test site is on is Shoshone Nation by deed. There is a deed, you can look it up, that deeds the land of the Shoshone Nation that was restricted, taken away. That's not a surprise. Our government has done that a lot. But the fact that it was kind of ongoing, and it's still going to this day, and the impact that it has from, the end of testing, 1992, which is surprising. People didn't realize the testing in Nevada took place from 1951 to 1992. And we've always talked about how the people were impacted every day, but continue to be impacted through DNA and changes in DNA in families. So in some ways, we felt like this is almost breaking news, but it shouldn't be breaking news because it's 30 years ago. So that was sort of the genesis of how we got together, and then on this topic. And every time we started to research further, again using John Wayne, this iconic white American actor, bravado, brash John Wayne, it got to him. He became sort of a symbol of America, quote unquote. But to us, America was much bigger than that. It was Claudia Peterson, it was Mary Dixon, it was Ian Zabarte, it was Darlene Graham, all those people that were impacted by testing and continue to be impacted.
Now, I'm not very good at geography, but for some unknown reason, I had the impression that all the nuclear testing sites was on the western side of Nevada. But am I wrong? Is it because for some unknown reason, I kept on thinking Las Vegas is a lot closer than St. George to these testing sites?
The test site is 65 miles from Las Vegas, but it's a pretty big site. I can give you the parameters, but it's one area. There's parts of it's in southern Nevada, and again, it's not far from Las Vegas, and they would test all over the site. There were different, there's mountains and there's valleys and there's water by the way.
It's underground testing.
Yeah, they did 100 detonations that were you saw in the film. They were above ground, the mushroom clouds, but a lot of the detonations were underground. And even when you detonate a bomb underground, it's got to go. The venting has to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's why. But it goes the way of the jet stream. The radioactive material goes via the jet stream, but it can be unpredictable. But again, I go back to the question. Even if it's unpredictable, if it is predictable, if something goes up in the air, it comes down somewhere. So, if that Dirty Harry had missed St. George, it goes somewhere else. So, and there's people everywhere, but the three main individuals or groups of individuals, the Native Americans, people living, individuals sort of living on the range, sort of living there, and Mormon communities, several Mormon communities, all three happen to be communities that
they labeled it.
Speak against the
called
government.
them a low use segment of the population. I mean, it was actually in real terminology and paperwork in terms of where they wanted the stuff, where they planned on the stuff to go, where they thought it would go. So that already is an issue just on its own.
Yeah, you're right, Doug. So the fact that they considered a low use segment of the population, to Doug's point, they weren't going to put this test site near Los Angeles, although it's not far, but it's protected because of the winds going in a certain direction. They were definitely impacting communities that they considered a low use segment of the population. But then, like Doug said, the Miller map kind of shows that it really impacted.
The winds turned. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you guys made a list of all these subjects you wanted to speak to. Did it take a little bit or a lot of convincing for them to participate in your documentary?
I'll answer that because I did a lot of the scheduling. Certain people were very, very happy to go on record and speak, and actually just about everybody that we talked to was great. There were, as you noticed at the end of the film, if you watch the end of the film, we approached every senator from the 3 states that are covered by RECA, the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, and they would not go on record. They wouldn't speak to us. They wouldn't give a statement even, which we found interesting because, you know, they're politicians and we are the people that elect the politicians. But from Ian to Mary to Claudia to Darlene, everyone was accommodating. Darwin, who was the representative from the Atomic Museum, National Atomic Museum, everybody was accommodating. We just wanted to make sure that we were speaking to the people that were really impacted by this, the individuals that, you know, again, Claudia Peterson is a significant member of the Downwinder community. Mary Dixon, same thing. Martin Sheen, the most arrested person in Hollywood, who was arrested and walked hand in hand with Ian Zabarde at the test site. And then, sorry, Doug, I'll just finish, but Michael Douglas, who's devoted his life to for the elimination of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. So we felt like it was really important to get names of people, but also people within communities.
But one of the things that kind of happened sort of, or blossomed really while we were in post and in, even on sets moving around, is this idea that the through line was that we're all downwinders. And it turns out even towards the end when we filmed Michael, who was, you know, he's a big fan in my house. My dad idolized Michael Douglas. We grew up with his movies constantly. So it was awesome to meet him. But he told us that he also is affected. His own dad, his family was affected by the Chernobyl fallout, and they were downwind. And it just kind of helped sort of bring everything together. It connected everything, even though these people are totally different walks of life, different, you know, areas they live in, different fields and careers. They were all connected based on that they were all exposed. And so we felt proud that we got all these people, and they do connect, you know, because of we're all in the same umbrella.
Wow. Now, a lot of the footage that you guys gathered, I'm assuming it's a public domain, but how close did you try to gather footage onto the nuclear testing sites? I'm assuming that they stopped you right at the gates.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They were pretty. I have to say that the guys on the gates are very accommodating. They were they're used to people coming up and taking photos and probably yelling and screaming. So you know, they're used to it. They weren't aggressive. We did go with Ian. We didn't take the huge cameras. We brought, you know, smaller stuff to stay a little more, you know, off the radar, so to speak. But you're not allowed to shoot without written permission anything on that test site. I mean, even if we used a super telephoto lens from far up, you know, we would have to ask for permission to use that. So we try to give that sort of wide perspective only, but yeah, they don't want anything on that site. There's not much on top per se. It's mostly underneath, I think, but yeah, we weren't able to get in there and get anything.
They do have tours that you can take, and there are media tours that they have, although I think they suspended operations during COVID. But yeah, you have to get on an email list to be able to get onto the site. And and
we shot this during COVID, so their you know, cameras weren't letting anybody in. And even then, having a camera there would be hard. And we would like to sit down and use it, you know, do it correctly and do real proper cinematography versus like shooting, you know, in a big van through a bunch of windows. So it's just not something that we could arrange because of COVID.
Understandable. So for a film like this, because it was long ago, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 years ago, how did you want to structure your documentary to make people care about something like this today? Because, you know, you're talking about younger generations younger generations could barely even remember 9/11, let alone.
Yeah. I'll take this one, Mark. This is the one that's the home hitter for me, which is where I started to get more, I'll say, a little emotional and serious in the post room. That is that like COVID or like 9/11, we tend to think of it as like a one-time event, and then it's a little bit of, follow up, a couple more versions, more shots, and then you're done. Unfortunately, with radioactivity that affects and causes cancer, that's changing your DNA and it's going down the line. So it affects your kids, their kids, and so on, depending how much and how far you were exposed. So that to me is the game changer. This is not something that our grandparents and it's over with. It could be in our children's children, and we need to be aware of this. And there needs to be compensation if that happens. And we need to stop further testing, because then we're starting all over again. Because the venting has to happen, and it's got to go somewhere. They can't do an explosion without a venting, and that has radiation. There's no way around it, and it will go into the atmosphere again. And so it's like we have to protect our kids not only from what we may already have inside us, unfortunately, and for future accidents that may or may not happen.
It's by the way, I'll add really quickly. It's a great question. It's a very, very good question. It was something that we battled with throughout the production. We just wanted to tell the story because it really we didn't feel like it had been told. And connecting to millennials or new generation, I think it's important to take. We recognize we love being Americans. We said that we love this country, but we want to hold it accountable. We want to make it better. We want to be a part of change. And I'm hoping, it's a complicated world right now, but what isn't complicated is the ability for everybody has a voice. We all can make a difference. We're all downwinders. We are, future generations, as Doug said. It's not just, our grandparents or others before us. It's, continuing the idea that they could resume testing again. We're talking about, something that's significantly important to make sure that we don't do it, that we learn from our past, and take care of and compensate folks that were impacted by it.
I mean, if, for example, in the film, Claudia admits it on camera, she passed it on to her daughter. I mean, you start to think about that for a minute. You're like, oh, okay, that means the possibilities are endless on how far this could go. It's genetic now. So that changes it. That means we're all included, whether we're old or young, millennial or non-millennial. You're now in the boat, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate. Well, let me wrap it up with one more question for the time we have left here. As audiences, you make your world premiere at Slamdance, and hopefully more audiences have a chance to check out your documentary Downwind. What is the one most important lesson that they walk away with?
Doug, do you want to start, and then I'll
I would say I think we're all proud to be Americans. I think we're all proud of what we get, the freedoms to do in this country. I think we just need to pay attention and make sure we do our proper checkup and house cleaning on taking better care of our future generations. And I know that's probably been said before in the past, but I feel like this film, the takeaway is we can't change what happened, but we can work towards compensating and helping those that were involved, and we can possibly work to make this not happen again in a serious way. And I think that is where my takeaway would be is let's really try to make change on this one. It's a simple change. Just we don't need to test anymore. We've proven we know what we're doing. We've proven we have the power. There's no need to flex that arm in that particular way anymore.
Mark?
I think that what I'd also like to say is that, as you mentioned, that we have a 24-hour news cycle, right? Is that what it is? Or, it's unbelievable how things can be on the front page of the New York Times one day, and the next day it's sort of forgotten. And, or it's, just goes deeper into the paper or whatever media you're looking at. I think it's important to look at history, because history plays a part in our future. And to Doug's point, we are all downwinders, and this is an important topic to embrace. And as Americans, we have, like I said, we have the constitutional responsibility to speak up when things aren't right, and to look out for each other. We're in this together. We bring up the activist patriot all throughout the movie. I think the word patriot has a negative connotation because of what happened almost exactly a year ago today. Those were quote unquote patriots. but activist patriots are people that, you know, we, as Mary Dixon says in the film, we are, the government works for us. That flag, that American flag, is for all of us, all genders, all people, all everyone together. We need to recognize our the responsibility to make this world a better place, and because its impact, it is has worldwide impact. And, you know, don't just look for the next shiny object. You know, let's hold government, let's hold people accountable for things that we can do, and then help change the future. Let's inspire to change the future.
Well said, well said. Well, Mark, Doug, once again, congratulations for your documentary Downwind, and congratulations for having it showcased at Slamdance. Hopefully this will make an impact and change people's minds.
Thank you. We really appreciate the time with you, and every time we could talk to you for hours about this. It's obviously near and dear to us, but thank you for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.